The small audition room was shrouded in an air of indifference. Mira, a young woman with fierce determination in her eyes, stood clutching a crumpled script. Her dark hair framed her face, damp with the perspiration of anxiety. The spotlight glared down, isolating her from the shadows where a panel of judges sat, their faces unreadable. As Mira poured her soul into the monologue, her voice quivered but never faltered. Her words were raw, her emotions palpable. Yet, when she finished, the response was the same, a curt nod, a polite thank you, and silence. Rejected again. Mira walked home through the crowded streets, her mind a whirlwind of doubt and determination. Her tiny apartment, with its peeling wallpaper and a faint smell of paint, was her haven. That night, surrounded by scripts, she rehearsed tirelessly, her reflection in the mirror staring back with both hope and defiance. "This role is mine," she whispered, her voice firm, as if convincing herself of her worth. Then came the news. A prestigious theater group was holding auditions for The Phoenix Rises, a story of resilience and rebirth. The lead role seemed almost written for her, a character rising from ashes to reclaim her destiny. Mira knew this was her moment. The day of the audition, she stepped onto the grand stage, a cavernous space that made her feel both small and infinite. Her heart raced as she began. Each line she delivered wasn't just acted, it was lived. She gave everything she had, channeling her struggles, her failures, her dreams. When she finished, the silence was deafening. For a moment, she thought she had failed again. The call came a week later. She didn't get the lead but was offered the role of understudy. It wasn't what she had dreamed of, but Mira accepted. Backstage, she studied the lead actress like a hawk, mimicking her gestures, understanding her nuances. She stayed late, practicing alone under dim stage lights. This wasn't settling, it was preparation. And then, fate intervened. Just a week before the premiere, the lead actress fell ill. The director turned to Mira, his face tense. "You're up," he said simply. Mira barely had time to process the weight of those words. The next days were a blur of rehearsals, costume fittings, and sleepless nights. On opening night, as she donned the fiery red and gold gown of the Phoenix, she stared at her reflection. The woman in the mirror looked different, stronger, braver. The audience buzzed with anticipation as the curtains rose. Mira stood alone on stage, the spotlight capturing her like a flame in the darkness. She began. Her voice soared, her movements fluid, her emotions raw and unfiltered. She wasn't just performing, she was living the story. By the time the final act concluded, the theater was silent for a heartbeat before erupting into applause. People rose to their feet, clapping and cheering. Mira, overwhelmed, stepped forward to take her bow. Tears streamed down her face as she looked out at the sea of faces. Later that night, as she sat alone in her dressing room, still in her costume, she looked at her reflection once more. This time, she saw a star. Not because of the applause or the standing ovation, but because she had risen, like the phoenix, from her own ashes. Mira's story isn't just about a performance. It's about resilience, hard work, and believing in yourself even when the world says no. Her journey reminds us that setbacks are stepping stones, and true success comes not from avoiding failure but from rising above it. So, to all dreamers out there, remember, the spotlight may not always find you immediately, but when it does, make sure you're ready to shine.